Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Smarty Sporto here, and today I have yet another set of sports news for you today. So without further ado, I'm just gonna go ahead and get into it, because there is some controversy going around, and I'm just gonna get into that straight away. Alright, first off, we have some major controversy going down in the NBA right now. Okay, so the 2017 NBA All-Star Game was set to be in Charlotte, North Carolina. That was the plan. But recently, North Carolina had passed a law called HB2, or regarded by most people as the bathroom law. Now, if you don't know what that is, I don't really want to get into it because I'm a sports reporter. I'm not a politic news reporter, but basically it restricted some of the rights of transgender people, because it basically said if the person has not had surgery to change the gender, they are not allowed to use the bathroom of the gender that they identify. Now, you can think what you want about this, but I don't really think it was necessary for North Carolina to make a law about this, but it is debatable. I personally disagree with it, but like I said, I'm not a politics news reporter. I don't really want to get into it. And I think there were some other things that went along with it. Like, it was like a whole thing with the LGBT community, but I don't really care. Okay, so the NBA found out about this, and they did not want to be associated with, or they did not want the NBA All-Star Game to be associated with such a discriminatory state. And I personally agree there, because I think that hosting the All-Star Game in North Carolina after what just happened would be an extremely bad idea. But they relocated the NBA All-Star Game. They're not sure where it's going to go. The top candidate would be New Orleans, but there are some other places. I heard Indiana might also be a candidate, Indianapolis. So, while they're working on that, that's cool, and that's all fine and good. I personally agree with the NBA's decision here, but once again, it is very highly debatable. But I think they did the right thing in this case. Whether they were against the law or not, it is smart to stay away from all that controversy. Also, in recent WWE news, we have some news over there. First of all, alright, so the WWE Draft has finally concluded. It happened 2 days ago. Sorry, 2 days. I can't count. But basically, so the WWE they had a brand split between the Raw and SmackDown rosters, and they had a draft. And there were some big names pulled. The very first pick was Seth Rollins going to Raw, and then SmackDown fired back by putting Dean Ambrose on SmackDown, who is, if you do not know, the current WWE champion. But that's not really what I'm talking about. There are a few topics from the WWE Draft. First of all, okay, so the Cruiserweight division is back. Boom. Bombshell. Cruiserweight Championship has been returned, and it is on Raw. I believe, yes, it is on Raw. And so is the women's division. I'm assuming those belts are going to hop back and forth between shows, because if that wasn't the case, then SmackDown would be the obviously inferior show. Also, Heath Slater. If you do not know who Heath Slater is, Heath Slater just went undrafted in the WWE Draft. And if you don't know who he is, he was a wrestler. He is a wrestler. He's always been a bit of a jobber. He never really won any matches, but he did have a lot of potential, and WWE just never really capitalized on it. I know, big shocker. But basically, Heath Slater's been undrafted, and we are wondering if he is going to go back to the Indies for a little bit, or maybe NXT. Not totally sure. Also, there are a lot of big names from NXT that did not get called up. One of the ones that ticked a lot of people off, Shinsuke Nakamura, did not get called up to the main roster. Sorry, guys. Shinsuke Nakamura did not come back up to the main roster. Sorry, all you internet smarks out there. But, yeah, that's basically a recap of the draft. That's all you need to know. I personally thought that the show itself was very boring and disappointing for such a big deal of a show. So, you can take it or leave it. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the WWE Draft. And next up, and lastly for today's news, I'm talking about a league that I never thought I would hear myself talking about in a million years. But here I am, because this is really, really major news that went down. Even though a lot of people haven't heard about it, a lot of people should hear about it, because this is just messed right up. I'm going to be talking about a thing that happened recently in the WNBA. Okay, hear me out, okay? Don't yell at me in the comments, please. I know it's really obscure, but hear me out, okay? Alright, so recently there have been a lot of shootings in the U.S., one of the most notable being where 5 Dallas police officers were shot during a peaceful Black Lives Matter protest. It wasn't anything to do with the cops being bad or the protesters being wild. It's just because of one random person decided to be a jerk and go and shoot. Well, shoot 5 cops. I think actually that might cross the border between jerk and evil. I'm not sure, but basically in the WNBA, there were 3 teams that spoke out and protested this by wearing black warm-up shirts during their warm-up before games. And those 3 teams were the New York Liberty, the Phoenix Mercury, and the Indiana Fever. And basically these teams would go out and they would wear black warm-up shirts before their games, just in protest of the shootings. And you know what the WNBA decides to do? This is just the most messed up thing I've ever heard of a company doing. And I'm counting Deflategate here. This is just messed up. They decide to fine these teams, okay? They fine these teams for protesting against violence. These teams are now fined. They had to pay money, and they're still doing it, too. It's not like they stopped after they got fined. They're still doing it. And I just think this is really messed up on the WNBA's part, and I think any normal person would agree with me. Just because a person or a team was protesting violence by wearing black warm-up shirts instead of the standard WNBA-supported freaking team warm-up shirts, they decided just for those few games they were going to wear the black warm-up shirts in protest of just violence in the U.S. What person is against that? But apparently the commissioner of the WNBA. I'm just done talking about it. It's pissed me off. Alright guys, well that's gonna do it for today's news. Now, there was a lot of controversy in today's news, except for the one about the NBA draft, the WWE draft. That one wasn't really controversial at all. But with the WNBA stuff and the All-Star game being moved out of Charlotte, man, there's been a whole lot of stuff going on, and it's been a lot. It's been a rough week, I'm not gonna lie, for sports as a whole. Well, anyway, that's gonna do it for today's news, and if you like this video, then please do check out some of my other videos, and if you enjoy those too, then please do consider subscribing, because I will respect you for the rest of your days. Or at least as long as you're subscribed to the channel, I guess. But whatever, anyway, I will see you guys later. This has been Smarty Sporto, the sports news reporter, and I am signing out.